Hello, everybody. Hi. Welcome back to another episode of The Life is Spoken with Ed. I am your host, Ed Castillo, former Corey Orgs player, alumni from season 7, season 9, and season 10. I'm so happy for another episode. Tonight, we have a special guest with me. He has played season 8 and season 9, and in just a few moments, we'll talk to him. But before we start this live and this interview, I just want to take a few moments to thank my executive producer, Gabe Camilleri. Without him, I would not have the stats and that he did the advertisement for these interviews. He's the man behind the scenes for all these things. So thank you so much to Gabe. Shout out to Gabe. Um, uh, Parental disclosure: viewer is advised for anybody. This is only for the cool people. Just kidding. So hopefully you guys enjoy. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce one of the, I would say, very underrated players to have ever played Corey's Org. I'm very happy that he's here with us. We're going to talk to him about his journey in Corey's Org, not just Corey's Org, but other orgs that he's played, and it's going to be fun. So thank you so much, and please welcome my guest, Jordan. Hey, Jordan.
Hey,
How
Ed.
are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Like, I'm so happy you're here. We're gonna start this interview by going with, like, I usually ask like a simple question and it just rolls. So
Okay.
to start us off, you're from Texas, right?
Yes, I am from Texas. I am from the Killeen Temple area. I live right next to a huge military base. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so it's hot. Um, but yeah, I'm from Texas, born and raised. Love the state. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that's basically it. Um,
And growing up in Texas, how does it compare to, like, because I know, like, now that you've interacted with different people around, the org community, and
mhm.
seeing them, like, that they live in different places. How was it different from your perspective living in Texas, and rather than being like from the city? Or was it really cool living in Texas, or do you plan to stay there, or what can you tell us about that?
um, well, Texas has always been my home.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, at heart, I'll always be a Texan. I have interacted with people from um, the org community, but also, you know, I live in a big city. I I would say, yeah, I live in a pretty big city, but I've also lived in like the rural country of Texas, and those that itself are like way two different communities on both sides of the like a coin. So like,
Mm-hmm.
um, with like the city, it's not really a tight knit community, whereas like living in the rural country, everybody knows everybody. Um, and it's kind of um, uh, like I said, a tight knit community.
Mm-hmm.
People are very protective of each other around there. So I've had I've had a good sense of both styles of living, like, and gotten a good perspective of I guess how people interact, because originally where I'm from, it's yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, very
Mm-hmm.
respectful, and sometimes you don't always get that in the city.
Yeah.
I'm still being complimented on my manners, and I'm like, it's not it's just
something out of something that
something
just comes naturally to you guys in the South?
right. It's something just out of respect, and there's nothing wrong with just basic manners,
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but when we talk more, I may have to defend myself on my manners because I've said some not so nice things involving the org to certain people. Um,
Okay.
uh, so
We
um,
actually got a comment from Gabe says an interview I can actually be awake for party.
thank you. Thanks, Gabe.
And moving on from there, I think it's cool that like seeing your perspective from being from Texas, and then just like I think I can speak for everybody is like we going into this experience as like meeting new people from around the world. We never experienced or expected to like meet so many different people and their culture, their, like you said, like the South is like with the manners and stuff, and it's kind of different over here in the city. Like it's very like, oh, like f this, or it's like there isn't that type of dialogue. But moving on from there, you actually, how did you get into Survivor? Were you always a fan? Is this something that you discovered during the pandemic? And were you always a super fan, or do you consider yourself a super fan?
I am a super fan now. When
Mm-hmm.
when I was, I want to say in elementary school, I think I saw a scene of like a lone person in their camp. It was like on the screen, it was dark. And what I'm thinking now, I might have saw like a scene from Palau, but I didn't really know what Survivor was. Fast forward to when I first moved down to the Killeen, Texas area. Um, you know, I I think I saw um, like commercials for Survivor, and I'm like, oh yeah, I think I've heard about this show before, but I've never really gotten a good chance to watch it. And
Mm-hmm.
that was Survivor Game Changers, and from there, I've always been a super fan, and I've watched it. I want to say almost religiously from there. I'm looking forward to season 41.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I took my super fandom and started kind of searching out other people who are also super fans. So like
Mm-hmm.
this Survivor fan jury and whatnot, um, and finding other people who you know have my likes and dislikes, and just uh, like creating a civil conversation about that type of the stuff that that we all love so much about Survivor.
Mm-hmm. And how did you find orgs? Did you come across Corey's org? Did you like saw the casting that they were casting for season 8? How did that happen?
Um, I don't. I want to say that I was a fan, or I was a member of Survivor fan jury first, and how people just how people just post stuff on Survivor fan jury, and maybe every once in a while you'll see a post about an org and applying out and stuff, and I'm like, I didn't really know what an org was, but when I found out that they were doing these mock seasons of Survivor, and I'm like, wow, that's something that I could really get into. And uh, I was very hesitant on it because I haven't always had the best social skills. I wasn't always well spoken, but I decided to give it a shot anyways because why not? We were
Mm-hmm.
still, I think we were still in the middle of quarantine when
Mhm.
season 8 went down, and I'm like, I have nothing better to do, so why not?
I believe it was around January, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe November or December,
Hmm.
but I think yeah, no, I think that timeline seems about right. Maybe November or December, somewhere around there.
Hmm.
Um, but um, I decided to apply for the org and see where that took me.
And you applied and you got casted for season 8. And the theme was Pearl Islands, Drake versus Morgan. And we actually had an opening ceremony where you guys got to meet Sandra,
Yeah.
and you got to see kind of like the competition and all the players. Talk to me how that was for you, because at that point, it's for me. I feel like, I don't know for you, but that's when it really, like, it becomes real. Like, I'm actually playing with strangers, and on top of that, it was for a brief moment, but you got to see Sandra. That was her first season. How was that for you watching that?
It was, I guess, as a fan, everything that a fan could hope for. Um, you know, when when do you really have the chance to interact with someone of that stardom in this? Okay. Um, I see Gabe's comment. Um, when do you really get to interact with someone of that stardom or that fame in this particular, I guess, series? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but another or another fact. I'm not going to name names or anything, but someone has offered or they offered to let me meet Sandra in person. Um, but I'm not going to name names. Like, someone
Uh-huh.
gave me the opportunity, and they're like, next time next time I go for coffee or something, um, you know, you could tag along, or um, but um, and you can meet them.
Mm-hmm.
But um, I'm still kind of waiting on that text from that person.
Oh,
But
that you should like be like, hey, anytime I'm free
yeah, no,
this
that's what I
weekend.
said. I'm like, hey, yeah, that sounds great. You know what? Because it started out as me as a fan, and then I
Hmm.
converted my mom to as a fan, and then
Hmm.
my older brother and his wife, they're now fans, and I'm like,
Wow.
yeah, I know. I'm um, when I had the ability to watch all these seasons on Hulu, I started
Hmm.
from 2, and I just worked through all of them. Actually, I never watched Marquesas. I didn't really care for it. Sorry,
Really?
I never watched Marquesas.
No, it's
No,
okay. It's okay. It's your opinion.
yeah,
It was it because, like, did you hear from fans like it was a bad season, or you just were like, eh?
I don't like Boston Rob.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care for Boston Rob as a player. Sorry.
Tell us how you really feel, Jordan. So you went back and you to see all the seasons, and what
Yes.
did you think about it? What was your favorite seasons?
Um, my favorite season is season 9, Vanuatu. It
Hmm.
starts out very slow, but post merge, that's when I really like the season. You know,
Hmm.
you really have to push through the um through the pre-merge, but I really respect the post-merge, and that's my favorite season. Is it?
Does it have to do with the fact that the eventual winner is at the bottom and he just dominates like the second half of the game with the women?
He was able to tear apart a women's alliance, and when I think women are very strong-willed, and when I think a lot of the times when their minds are made up, they're gonna stick to it. But being able to slip in the cracks and get people to flip, um, and then eventually win the game, um,
Hmm.
I it made for very good TV, and
Yeah.
I loved every moment of the post merge.
So going back to season 8 of the org, uh, did you? We actually had a challenge, which was like you got to go to the villagers' huts. Myself and Ingrid were in one hut, and you did you participate in that? You got money, you know, like fake money, but you could use that money to buy advantages. How
Yeah,
did you spend your money? Um, and I have it over here in the stats that you went to Gabe's hut.
yeah. I went to Gabe's hut. Now I'm probably gonna need refreshers on, um, because I think in the season I had two advantages. Um, One was I earned one advantage because I guess I sucked at confessionals. From Corey's perspective, I sucked at the confessionals. So he's like, "You get an advantage with I think it was Sarah," and she's like, "Was it Sarah?" She was like,
She showed you like how to do confessionals.
"Yeah, because I picked up something. I'm like, I found an idol, and I sent it to Corey, and I just wasn't very good at it. I don't really care for all the extra all the extra stuff you have to do in the confessionals. I like to speak my mind about what's going on in the game, how it
Hmm.
could possibly affect my game and the game of others around me, and that's
Hmm.
basically it. Um, if it's raining, I'll kind of sit out on my porch and have the rain in the background. But I think the only thing that I won from the villagers' huts was an advantage to, what was it? Um, um, it helped us out with a challenge.
Hmm.
Um, Kind of it had something to do with helping us out in a challenge. I'm not exactly sure what it had to do.
Hmm.
Because it was just so long ago. But we used it correctly, and that's all that
Wow.
mattered to me. Is if it could help us out and get us to that next step, then why not use it?
Uh, they ended up opening night. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think John wins something, and I think he uses it, and he's like, "I like to use my advantage," and he actually gets to go to somebody else's camp
Yeah,
because he was on Drake, right? And he got to go to Morgan's camp.
yeah.
What was your thoughts? The fact that off the bat, John is like, "I want to use my advantage," and then like he gets kidnapped, and he didn't know that's what it was. That he had to go to, I guess, like to the other camp, but he didn't know that he had to spend all that time,
Hmm.
and then like he would come back for the immunity challenge. But had they lost, that kind of puts him in a disadvantage. Were you thinking like that's a bad mood or let move, or is like what were you thinking?
Um, my I was worried that they were gonna get him to flip. If
Hmm.
if we kept him around, would he flip on us?
Hmm.
So when he got back, we wanted to make sure that he was with us. Um, and I guess treating your people right. Hopefully they stay with you. And my really really the hesitation I had was, are they gonna try and convince him to turn on us eventually? So like, when we had our swap, that was one of my hesitations. Um, because I swapped on a tribe with three Drakes and three Morgans. So
Mhm.
John was on my tribe. Did they convince him to flip?
Yeah.
Um, but I think did I think we had made an alliance that I was in a majority alliance in the beginning, and maybe did he use it? If he used it after the challenge, we were already in the majority alliance, so I think it would have been a bad move right at the beginning to flip. Um,
Mhm.
but we'll talk about that later. About
Mhm.
talk
So the
about
game, yeah. So the
okay.
game starts. Can you talk about? Did you have any like close relationships with anybody on your tribe, like that really formed on the Drake tribe?
Um, again, because I was so new, I didn't know what a ride or die was, and
Mhm.
even then, like in all my games, like I don't think I've necessarily had a ride or die. I um I mean it sounds a little cold, but I think I base people off of like how useful they're gonna be to me, but at the same time, I'm still really I try and be really respectful towards people. Um, and that's kind of like a conflict that I have because like it clashes with kind of like my morals. I,
Mhm.
I don't like hurting people, and but I want to be respectful towards people. Um,
Yeah,
um,
but you're also playing the game.
right. I'm also playing the game, and the more games that I've played, I don't want to say the easier it's gotten, but it's gotten really easier to have to do what needs to be done.
Would you
And
say
that
that it's easier to differentiate like this is gameplay and I still like the person, you know?
right, you know, like for example, if we were ever to play and I was able to rally the troops and blindside you, I hope that we could still be friends afterwards. Like,
Yeah,
but it would still hurt to have to vote you out. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, yeah, I get it. I've been there, and I feel like a lot of times we often struggle. I think McKenna, she mentioned it on her last interview, which is one of the reasons why she hasn't come back to play with like I what you would say like a returnee season. It's because you do get close to people, and even if you don't get, even if you don't know them and you end up playing a new game with different people, you still have to bond with them, and you still have to make those tough decisions about voting them off to advance your game because after all you're doing the best for your game. And speaking of that, um, at the presser vote out, you offered yourself as a vote, but you ended up voting Amanda Welch in a 6-1-1.
Yes. Um, I wanted to prove to my alliance that I would be willing to go home if he had an idol. That
Mm-hmm.
um, when Presser got voted out, if Presser had an idol, it would go to me and Amanda, and then Amanda would end up going home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was willing to put my neck on the line, um,
Yeah.
as kind of like a sign of good faith, that when I say that I have your back, I'll have your back unless you prove otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
You're my alliance.
One of
So
my one of my questions is, why did you choose Amanda specifically? Was she the one that you weren't really didn't trust that much, or were you just not working closely with her?
It's just because I wasn't working closely with her. There
Hmm.
was me, Peter, Parker, Matt, and Tristan, and John, and the I think in orgs, if you don't hear from somebody, if they're very quiet in the chat, it's just an easy vote out. And I hate to say it like that, but I think Presser at the time wasn't being real um, vocal with anybody. He wasn't messaging anybody, if I remember
Hmm.
correctly. So we're just like, it's got to be Presser because you know if we're if we can't rely on him in the later portion of the game, that's gonna be bad in our favor. It's not gonna work in our favor.
Yeah.
And um, I don't know if you've had that experience, but it's an easy to vote out to get people who aren't very active.
That actually happened to me. I wouldn't say because I wasn't active, but I it was my first org,
Mm-hmm.
and we literally had 5 minutes to like we were putting in our chats. I was trying to like in the main chat, trying to like make small talk. Meanwhile, people were already messaging each other, making an alliance. So
Yeah.
it was easy to vote me out because I wasn't making those connections in those 5 minutes, which is extreme. But I do get that. I carried that lesson into season 7, and there was a lot of inactives, like at least two of them. And for if we never our tribe never lost the challenge, I
Mm-hmm.
got swapped. But had we lost the challenge, they would have been the first two gone. We just thought it was unfair to the rest of us who were actually playing for
Right.
them to continue in the game. So I could totally get your perspective on voting somebody off. Um, then Amanda gets voted off at 6-1.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me. Was that always the plan? Like she would go next after Presser?
That was basically the plan. I mean, there was no um I think there were a few names, a few people who were really leading the votes.
Hmm.
Um, but right at the beginning, you don't want to make waves by trying to throw out different names. You go with the votes right at the beginning. So Amanda was the next person to go, and I felt really bad about it. Uh, but at the time, you have to just be like, you don't know what's going on. Like maybe you were left out of the vote, um, but the whole I can't believe you're going type thing,
Yeah,
which is I think I did that maybe. I
you
definitely
literally went like this.
maybe if I did, I know I did that in a different org, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, at
Um,
least you didn't fake cry like Amanda.
oh my god, I don't think I have it in me to fake cry.
So after that, there's a swap that occurs. Thoughts on regarding that happening, and then Peter gets voted out.
Oh,
Then Eric quits, and
mhm.
now you're going into a merge. Talk about that.
So So I was absolutely heartbroken that Peter gets voted out, um, because when when Peter gets voted out, it was a strange vote because I didn't know what happened. Um, you know, when when it was time to read the votes, 6 people voted, but 7 votes came up. Um, Apparently one of the Morgans had an extra vote, and I was going to John, and I was saying, John, what the fuck just happened? And I'm like, did you fucking flip? um, and he's like, dude, he kind of gave me the I have no idea what happened, and I felt like I didn't believe him, and
Uh-huh.
I didn't know if I wanted to go to the my original alliance and be like, John fucking flipped on us, and he's like, dude, read the or 7 votes came up, and I'm like, I think if we had the ability to rewatch it, I think I rewatched it and counted, and I'm like, oh yeah, or I guess 7 votes did come up, but I was very very shocked that Peter went home, and I love
Mhm.
Peter, but at the same time, looking back on it now, I'm like, I'm glad Peter went home because Peter was like Drake strong, and I'm pretty sure he was gonna be rubbing it in people's faces about how Drake strong he was, and I'm like, Peter, shut up. I love you, but shut up. You're gonna get us in trouble.
Yeah, because
And
at that point, I feel like I don't know. I guess you can tell me, but from my perspective, per islands, it's Drake versus Morgan. Like
right.
whoever has the advantage will win. Those people will make it to the end. But it seemed like you guys were kind of like taking that mantle and going with it, but you were trying to be like at the same time like, no, we'll work with anybody, but secretly you're like, no, we still have to have the numbers.
Well, the game is always about the numbers, but I was too timid to work with anybody. When it's your first org, and I don't know if this was you or how your experience was, but you're very, it's almost like walking on eggshells because you're like, I don't know what I should do. Um, all I know is I had, I personally felt like I had a lot of influence at the beginning of the game, especially with like the voting, because there was somebody who I was talking to. When we talked, we would end up talking for like a couple hours about strategy, what might happen, what could happen,
Was
what
this Matt?
yeah, it's Matt.
I knew it. I knew when you said a couple of hours. I was that's
Yeah, it's
Matt.
like yeah, it's like yeah. I didn't want to name names. Um, I was like, yeah, what could happen if someone had a specific um, advantage, and who would they play it for? We were just going over everything, and I think that's how I was able to stay in the game so long is just being prepared for the unknown. Um, and with Eric leaving, I was saddened. It's always sad when someone has to leave for personal reasons, but when someone's leaving because they don't want to get voted out, they would rather quit than have to get voted out. I don't know. It's different, and I hold those people to a different standard. Like it's acceptable when it's like for family reasons, but if you're quitting because you don't want to get voted out, that's something different. Why take the spot of somebody who really wanted to play? So I was sad when Eric left because um, I, I don't know, like it's sad to see someone go for family reasons or whatever his reasons were. Um,
Yeah.
and then the merge, then the merge happens, and I was excited for the merge. Um, the merge was it was kind of like I would say like a how would I describe the merge? Um, I know that before the merge, we were all kind of like together on we were talking about who may have advantages, who they might play them for, what would happen if specific people won immunity, and
Hmm.
it was a crazy merge episode and tribal, and I messaged Matt because when I went to North Carolina to hang out with them, and we talked about our season 8 season, and specifically the merge episode, because um here I gotta pull it up.
It's okay.
um
Get in the receipts.
what's that?
Get in the receipts.
Oh yeah. Well, when the merge tribal happened,
Hmm.
um Dylan and Tyler had immunity.
Yeah.
um John had an immunity idol. uh Parker played his for Matt, and then the votes came down to me and Trenton.
Hmm.
Um, and I think, as expected, it it went to a tie vote. Um, or yeah, and then we had to revote, and John flipped. John flipped to vote me out, and at the
Did
time,
you
what's that?
did you think he was gonna flip?
Um, no, I didn't think he was gonna flip, but um, I heard after the fact that he wanted to play a villainous game this time around. Yeah, he had always played a noble or an honest game, and he wanted to play a villainous game. I'm like, that's great, John, but you know, I'm like, I just don't think that that was the right time to do it.
Hmm.
Vote me out later, but that wasn't a good time, and it wasn't a good time because of next episode. Um, what happens next? But um, I always think, I have to think to myself, what would have happened if John didn't flip? Um, because if John never flips, me and Trenton become safe, and Tristan, Parker, Amanda, and Harland all go to Rocks,
Hmm.
and one of the four of them goes home. One of the three who make it eventually to the final three goes home, possibly. That and for me, I felt like I would have always liked to know what would have happened, because if that happens,
It changes the game
it it, it
completely.
it changes the game completely, but also I think it affects future seasons. One of those people, if Amanda goes home, she get invited back for Game Changers?
Hmm. I
What if
don't know. Maybe,
maybe
possibly. I don't. Maybe somebody. Maybe whoever wins that season gets invited.
right? But
I
if
will
she
say that almost all of you guys got invited.
right, um, um, Dylan gets invited, Matt gets invited, Tyler gets invited, uh, for, I guess, very obvious reasons. Um, they played very well in season 8. Um, but I was very shocked at my vote out, because it didn't it didn't it felt like I didn't really get closure to the season, or I just felt like super blindsided. I was looking up at the stars like, oh, where did I go wrong? Uh, but looking back at it now, it's very I guess I'm at peace with my vote out.
Hmm.
uh, and it was it was a very smart move on John's part, because I wasn't going to take John to the end. I wasn't going to take Parker to the end. I probably wasn't going to take Matt to the end. There were a lot of people I could not take to the end. I'm not going to name names on who I would have taken to the end, but um, I was eventually I think I was eventually going to get rid of John at some point.
We actually
Uh,
have a question from Amanda. Amanda's
mhm.
asking, Amanda Myers.
Okay,
She's asking, who would you want to play in the future that you haven't gone to, and why?
who would I want to play with?
Yeah, that you haven't played with, and why?
Um, Now we've played together, Ed, but because it was such a short season, um, I
Season
mean,
9.
season 9, I wouldn't consider 2 days or 3 days a season. I would want to play with you because, you know,
Uh,
yeah, I know. I just, I, I don't know how you play, and I haven't really gotten to uh play a
really
good. Yeah,
experience like the
right.
whole. Okay.
Right. Nine was very fast paced, and it was just too fast paced to be able to want to do anything. Like I couldn't make connections that fast. Um,
Hmm.
so I thank you, Ed. I do thank
I
you.
think I would love to work with you as well. I feel like maybe that wasn't like the best season for us to have worked together. I feel like in another world where like if I was like maybe had I not made so many promises to people like I and had like gone into that season with a more of a fresh start. Like I don't want to make alliances, and had you because you did reach out to me, I would have
Mhm.
probably stuck by you and try to like save you when the time came for people like who do we vote out next.
Right.
Um, and so I feel like yeah, I would be down to if I come back for another season, I would be. Hopefully you're there, and also we would work together.
Right.
So
I
yeah, I think that would be cool.
I heard there was a target on every season 8 players' backs that they were that from the jump everybody wanted them out because they thought that they would work together.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's I'm not gonna lie, I kind of switched that to you guys like the target, and I
Yeah.
was like season 8, they just freaking finished the season like 2 weeks ago. They
Well,
gotta stick together, and then I know you guys were saying like in your defense, you guys were saying like we hate each other. We
yeah, no,
literally
no.
just like
Well, after I got voted out, I went to Amanda Welch. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, that was my idea to vote you out. Uh, and then I didn't want to work with John. I didn't want to work with really anybody. I think Matt and Parker were literally like the only two people I cared to work with. And I was like, I'm willing to stab any of my season 8 players in the back other than those two. I don't care about anybody else.
was that the Horseman Alliance?
The four horsemen, yeah.
Who was the
Um,
fourth?
it was me, Peter, Parker, and Matt. And once Peter fell, I was just like, oh my gosh, this can't be happening. I was like, oh, um, I was so saddened by him being voted out.
You get voted out, and then you're on the jury. Talk to me, how different was it? Like were you like sad, disappointed that now you have to watch the game and watch it unfold? Did you switch your vote for who you were going to vote for, or did it progress? Like did you already knew like I'm voting for this person if they get to the end, if no matter what, I don't care what other people do? Because I know that season a lot of people who probably were the front runners, they got taken out one by one, and
Oh yeah, no,
we
no, no.
ended up with like a very particular final three, where I to me it was like any man or woman's game at the end.
Um, oh jeez. Um, yeah. So every I can. Oh jeez. Um, I don't really want to. I don't really want to say anything particular. Yeah.
You don't have to. You can just give me
Uh,
like the Miss America answer, I guess.
everybody who I feel like was supposed to win the game, who could have won the game, wasn't in the final three. I want to give a nice answer, but had I think anybody from the merge on gone against that specific final three, they could have won it. It had and I want to be as respectful as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the group consensus of like the final three. Like everybody was so heartbroken when Tyler was voted out, and you see all these great players back to back. Matt gets voted out, Parker gets voted out, Dylan gets voted out, and you're just like you put your hand in front of your face, just like I can't believe this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So when the final three comes and I see who the final three is, I think I was 50-50 on who I wanted to vote for. But when I voted for the winner, they had to fight for themselves. And I wanted to see them fight for the reason why they deserve to win. And they gave a very, very good answer and spoke for themselves very well. And I knew from there who I was going to vote for.
Who did you vote for?
I voted for Amanda, and I was the vote that said, "You're a badass bitch." So that was my vote. She presented her case very well, and I respected that. And it's not easy. It is not easy to be one of two women on the cast and then get to the end, and not only get to the end but win it. Like, I think I wanted to vote for her just because of that. She did a very good job, and she deserved to, I think, win that game in that final three.
You actually got swapped before the merge, and you ended up with a tribe with Harlan. Is this correct?
Yes.
Harlan was conscientious. Harlan was actually. It's funny because he's the only person on your swap tribe to place higher than eighth, because he made it to the final three from your swap tribe. Is there any reasons why your swap drakes were targeted? The drakes, when they swapped to the new tribe, they were being targeted. Is there any reason?
Are you talking about with me, John? Who was that third person? I think Tristan, then Harlan, Dylan, and I forget the other person. I don't. It may not be that. I think it's not that we were targeted. It's just I don't think anybody wanted to flip. I know that I didn't want to flip. So when when we did our votes and the 7 votes came back on the tribe of 6, like I said, I looked over at John and I said, "What the fuck?" So it's not that the Drakes were targeted. It's just we were at a standstill on nobody, I think, was going to flip. We couldn't, and we said it. We're like, I don't think I think Dylan's like, no, Corey asked, was there any possibility that anybody was going to flip? And Dylan cut him off and said no. He was like, no, we've been trying to talk to him and they've been stonewalling us. And I was like, yeah, but what do you expect? You think I'm gonna face the wrath of Matt and Parker when we get to the merge? And I'm like, they're gonna vote my ass out. um, I was like, no, it's just not happening. I'm not flipping on Peter. I can't flip on Peter.
Yeah.
And I can't flip on John. But had I known what was going to proceed at the merge, I would have voted John out. But what can you do?
Do you think that after Peter gets voted off, before the merge, you guys keep going on that tribe? Do you think it's you or John going next?
I no. Well, I I didn't know who was gonna go next. Like we said, or like we were being very secretive or very conscious or very we were very quiet about who we were gonna vote for because we weren't given the Morgans anything. We're like, who are the most talked about or popular people on the Morgan tribe? You know, who has immunity? Who do you think has an idol, and who do you think they're going to give it to? We chose Trenton as a safe vote, and they chose me. And I think Harland had said something to Matt, or tried to pick a fight with him,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of throw us off. And
A tribal?
Parker had used his idol on Matt, and I was like, I didn't know, I don't know if I wanted to say something at that time, but looking back on it now, you're like, it's just so obvious. It's obvious that if someone had an idol, they were going to use it on Matt, but Matt is so likable that they wouldn't vote for him because it's obvious they would use an idol on him. So when he said that, I felt like I wanted to say something. I'm like, that just doesn't seem like the right move. But
You were pretty much giving me Hannah vibes in Millennials versus Gen X when like David gets up and he's like, I want to play the idol on Ken, and she's like, like no, don't do it, play it on me.
mhm,
And he gets it wrong because he plays it on Ken, but the target is Hannah.
right.
So I will say that tribal council we got to watch because we had participated, some of us, in
Mhm,
I think it was the trivia challenge, and we had to partner up. We stayed. I was one of the people that was watching that tribal. You guys threw it down. I was like, these are newbies. These are people who are calling each other out with Harlan,
mhm,
and versus Matt. And I was just like, oh my god. And then
right.
like Parker plays the idol. I was like,
It,
Jesus,
it
this is
it
one
just
of the
didn't
best tribals ever.
right. Um, and it's very, it's great to be able to live it out. Even if I was the first jury member, I'm so glad with my placement. It couldn't have come I was glad the way I went out. Like it was such a fun way to look at it. But I always wonder what would have happened, who would have went home had John stuck to his vote. You know, uh, and who knows, John may win at the end because you never know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's one of those things where one little thing goes differently, and we have
right.
a completely different game.
I would love for Corey to like do a I don't know how he does rock draws, but like I would love for him to be like, pull out a piece of paper and be like, this is who goes home. Uh,
He did the
for
same thing with me. Like it for
right.
I went to Rocks on season 7, and it was a 50-50. It wasn't like between four people. It was
Hmm.
either I'm going home or this other lady's going home, Jen. And my freaking internet cut off. Like I got kicked off as he's revealing, And then
Mhm.
I signed back in, and I'm like, "What happened? What happened?" He's like, "Oh, you're safe." I'm like, "Oh my god!" But before that, I thought I was gonna pass out.
Right.
But again, I was willing to go to Rocks, and I'm sure like had you not tied and you were in the opposite, you were willing to go to Rocks
Yeah.
for, you know.
Like like I said, I'm willing to throw down for anyone on my alliance, and I'm willing to step in front of that bullet. You know, it was the thing with, like I was saying with Presser. You know, we had Presser had an idol. Um, had Presser had an idol, it would have been a revote. And you know, I'm willing to lay my game on the line for my people.
Looking back for season 8, was what was your toughest time during season 8, and what was like, I would say like your proudest achievement or anything that you took positive out of that season?
Um, my proudest achievement, I guess that because it still carries to this day. Before I started season 8, and even now, I sometimes think of myself as like socially awkward, and I don't know how to really talk to people, and I'm always going over stuff in my head about, like, you know, should I say this to this specific person, or how should I start the conversation? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and when I started season 8, when I started participating in these orgs, a lot of those things that give me anxiety went away, and you know, it still helps me to this day,
Mm-hmm.
because some people are so very naturally gifted socially, and I'm not. And I love that being able to do this, it's really helped with those anxieties. And um, you know, I've really been thankful for this org, because had I not started um, doing this, I don't know where I'd be. Like, and I've made so many great friendships.
Is
And
there, obviously I got to see some of them in real life because you went to visit Matt, but other than Matt, is there anybody you still kind of like talk to from time to time, or would be excited to play again with, I guess with like people from your original season?
I would love to play with Peter again. I want to play with Peter, and I've messaged him here and there, like rarely, but he's busy with his
Mhm.
practice, and it's it's understandable why, I guess, why he can't play again, um, because of just his life, and how busy he is. But um, you know, when you talk to Peter, and when you talk to Parker, and when you talk to certain people, you know, you just want to smile and kind of have a
Mhm.
good time. And um, you know, hanging out with Peter playing that season was a really good time, and it just kind of it puts you in a better mood. Um, yeah.
So after season 8, the next season that Corey does is season 9.
Yes.
What made you, or what I guess did it for you to come back and be like, I want to play season 9, even though it's 2 days? Did you think there was going to be a lot of season 8 people playing? Because actually, it was 8 of you guys from season 8 out of 27 people who played that season. 8 of you
Mhm.
came back, and I feel like for me, it was like I was kind of like, oh my god, it's the season 8 army, you know.
Yeah, no. But there was nothing any of us could say to, I guess, change any of your minds. Like,
Mhm.
it, you know, I had just gotten off the boat or plane, whatever you want to call it, from season 8, and I had so much, my blood was boiling just seeing John on the cast, and
You're like,
uh,
not again.
no, yeah,
Damn it.
not again. Um, and then he makes it to the final three, and you're just he makes it to the final three, right?
Yeah, he got
You're just
second
like,
place.
yeah, no, I'm just like that son of a bitch. Like that son of a bitch. uh, um, no, it's just like I was like, I don't want to play with most of these people. I was like, I don't want to play with most of these season 8 people. I don't like a lot of them. Um, and but I was excited. I was excited to meet more of the org.
Mhm.
So so I got a better look into the types of people um, that were also super fans that had played before, and it was a different experience than season 8, uh, because I couldn't because I need that time to be able to get to know people, and really
Mhm.
it was just challenge tribal until we had a winner, and
Yeah.
uh, and had the days been longer, or had we had that time, I felt like I could have convinced people that I didn't want to play with season 8 people, uh,
Mhm.
but because it was so short, I didn't really stand a chance. But I think I was right before the jury. So
Yeah, I think so. You were day one
yeah.
because like we finished day one, and then like I think we had a jury member on day one already, or a couple
Hmm.
of them. Um, because I think Matt went on day one. I think I'm not sure,
Yeah, it just
probably. But talk to me about what was your mentality for you. You said that you didn't want to work with season 8. What would have been your plan had it gone your way? Would you have aligned with people that you wanted to work with because you had heard about them, or were you trying to be under the radar? What was your strategy had you survived?
well, I had a lot of if I remember correctly, I had a lot of people reaching out to me, like asking me to work with them, and I'm like, this is great. Yeah, sure, I'll work with you. I don't care. As long as I get far. I don't, I don't care who I work with. Um, I don't, I hadn't heard anything at that moment about like the season 8 people, and I guess the rumor that was going around that what a lot of us were going to be working together, and I was like, so I hadn't heard any of that, but like I was just excited that people were reaching out to me. Um, so I'm I'm I was I'm just glad to have met more people. Um,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
What was your strategy going in? And had you survived and made it to the day two, stayed longer, possibly even made like top seven, what would have been your strategy to get to that point and moving forward to?
Um, I think my strategy relies a lot in the social game, and being so short, I didn't have that opportunity.
Hmm.
Um, all I was hoping for is people were gonna want to keep me around, um, use me as a shield or whatever. It doesn't really matter, but like you know, um, I didn't really. I don't think I had a good shot going in because it was so short. I didn't have time to build those bonds. Um,
You you started on the Scooby tribe, or was it Mickey?
um, I can't tell you at this point. I
Uh,
I'm sorry, man. I
I know. I think we swapped into Scooby 2.0. That's when I was with you and
mhm,
Peter. And Peter went first, and then afterwards, I think you got voted off.
mhm.
Um, so, what do you think? Do you think it was the fact that you were swap screwed with other people, or do you think you were associated with different people that, like a Matt or a John, that they would stick together, and that was like for people who were like, it's a season 8 player, let's take him out.
I think I got swap screwed.
Mm-hmm.
I just, with already the veterans who had that social pull and the ability to sway people. Um, I'm sorry. Um, I didn't have that ability to uh, get people on my side, and I wasn't. People didn't know me well enough to want to work with me, and I think they were hesitant, and so I just the best thing to do is get rid of somebody, especially if you're unsure about them, and
Mm-hmm.
I would feel the same way if I was in any of y'all's positions, like like if you think that there's gonna be a season 8 alliance, get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I to me it was like we didn't think there was. Well, I was thinking more of a, okay, it's a lot of season 8. This is what I would do. We would stick together, right?
mhm.
Get rid of some of the veterans, and but you guys were actually like, no, we don't want to work with each other. We hate each other. Let's just, nothing's going on. But to me, it felt like at that point it had gone out that you people were thinking that the season 8 were going to stick together. That I feel like your guys' best option was to actually stick together and try to like make it as far as he could. Um, for me, it was the fact that Austin had mentioned like, oh, uh, yeah, Matt wants to really work with Jordan, and then Parker wants to keep Jordan. That was two people who were mentioning your name,
Yeah,
Matt
well,
and Parker, that they wanted to keep you around, and Austin wanted to have Parker happy because that was his number one. And so to me, it was like,
well, see,
well,
when it's only 3 out of 8, and 3 people out of like the I don't know 20 that are left. How are you supposed to maneuver that? You're just like, what are you supposed to do with that? If you wanted to keep the 3 of us around, fine, but um, I just uh, I, I don't know how to feel about it now. It's funny to think about now, but had you I don't know if the season 8 alliance was brought up in the actual game, but had that been brought up, you um Amanda Welch was on my tribe at some point, and I'm like, oh great, she's on my tribe. And I'm like, oh, she's gonna want to take me out. And so I didn't know how to talk to her after or during the tribe. I'm like, it's almost one of those comical situations where you're like, hey, I know I voted for you last game, but let's work together. And you're like,
yeah.
and and I think she makes it farther. Does she make it to the jury or
No, she was voted out. You three were voted out during day one.
mhm.
You, Amanda, and Peter.
Okay, yeah, she makes it farther. I know she makes it farther than I do, I think. So like,
Might have been like like 2 or 3 votes after you.
yeah, but I'm like I expected it, and she's probably gonna want that payback, and uh but I think for having so many people there from season 8, I think John does a really good job of making it to the end. Second place is not a bad placement at all. Um, he's very likable, um,
Hmm.
and
Which is why I was targeting him, and no one would
right.
listen to me. I was targeting him, and I even brought it up on my speech as a jury. I was
Mhm.
like, I was trying to get rid of you. And like, like if people are like saying like, ooh, this John, I was like, because I saw this coming and look what happened. You're here, so you should get some credit. Although I didn't vote for him, I did end up voting for Miranda, but I would commend his effort because at one point he became the underdog and he had to like win the immunities because
Right.
he would have been gone sooner had he not won those immunities, because like there was like such a tight group, like you said, like with alliances. So
Well,
but yeah,
had you wanted to keep somebody, had you wanted to keep me, I think I would have been I would have got rid of him too. But it is what it is now, and it's funny to think about it.
I would say that it surprised me how many people were like so drawn to him and wanted to work with him, and I
Right.
was just like, what are
What,
you
what,
kidding me? What?
what you see him on his computer or his screen, and he's drinking, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm having a good time. I hope y'all are having a good time too." And you're drawn to it, and you want to be like, "I want to have a good time with you."
Yeah,
So like, you don't want to get rid of somebody who's having a good time,
yeah,
and it's very smart, and it's very pulls you in. Uh, so you know, I I I I like I like that John made it to the end, and
mhm.
he was able to get second because it was a well deserved placement.
Yeah.
Um,
Is there
but
anything that you took away from that season? Anything even small at all, like positive?
um, yeah, that I just got to meet more people from the org. That it wasn't as small as I thought.
Hmm.
Because I really hadn't met anybody yet. So seeing all these people, more people, um, who also liked Survivor, and though at the time, um, I didn't really know how they played.
Hmm.
Um, I uh, it was nice seeing different strategy, um, different opinions on why they think the game is great, or who they like, who they dislike. I just like meeting all these new people.
Hmm.
So that was one big thing that I took away from season 9.
Would you come back for another season?
Definitely, yeah.
Would
No,
it
most
would it have to be a specific theme or just any season at all?
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Um, I know Aftermath is coming up. I didn't. I just got done with the Amazing Race. So,
Hmm.
um,
Talk
you want to
about
you want to talk
yeah,
about
you can we
that?
can talk about that.
No. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. You want to talk about it, Ed?
Well, I mean, I got voted off on the first episode, so I mean, we kind of share that bond in a way. But for I guess we can talk about the positives. That the
Okay.
fact that we didn't get voted off. Technically, you weren't the first one voted off, so
Hmm.
you have that.
Yeah.
And you got to run two legs, not just one leg. And you actually got to um participate with your season 8 castaway friend Matt.
Right. It it didn't it didn't start that way though. My original partner was JP, and
Mhm.
I think Matt's was Casey. No,
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 Casey was
yours
my.
was Casey. Yours was
I
Casey.
think, yeah, Eric. I think Eric from Bitter Jury.
Yeah. Anyways, I think Eric couldn't do it, and JP came to me and said that he would drop out or be a host instead, so that way Matt could have a partner. I thought that was very noble and kind of heroic
Hmm.
of JP to do that. And I so me and Matt, I thought we were gonna get a lot farther, but we couldn't find those freaking animals, man. Uh, we just had trouble in that last leg,
How
and
was it? How was it for with working with Matt? Was it a good communication? Was there
uh,
any type of like?
Um, I think there was good communication, um, but I don't think the Amazing Race is necessarily my thing. Um, it's more Survivor, or I've never done a Big Brother org, but I would like to see how that goes.
Mhm.
Um, but I think I'm more of the type of person who does stuff like Survivor or Big Brother, because it that's just more my type of game.
Mhm.
Um,
So the Amazing Race happened. It's over for both of us. We get to watch, the rest of the teams fight it out, duke it out. But he also, other than Corey's org, he ended up playing another org, Survivor Bitter Jury, hosted by Keanu and Holly. Um, you played season one, the first ever season.
yes.
Talk to me how the process was that for you about with casting and also getting onto the cast and then actually playing something other than Corey's org.
So it was different. For me, when I do something new, it's kind of like, you when you have your first sleepover as a kid, and you're kind of nervous, and you get those butterflies in your stomach, and you're trying to make a good impression. That's kind of what it's like for me. Um, so so I get casted, and I immediately become part of a majority alliance, and in the beginning of my games, I always feel like I have a strong because I feel like I'm the people honest. For the most part, I come out as honest to people.
I don't think I can hear you as loud.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's good.
Um, I feel like I come to people honestly, and just as a honest person.
Hmm.
So I always feel like I have a really good, strong game in the beginning, and then like towards the middle, and when the when it starts to become like time for the jury, it starts to kind of fade. But I'm still working on that part, seeing what I can improve on about myself, like on myself. Um, after you know, at the beginning of the game, it starts off really well, and I want to say that two of my closest alliance members were a guy named Jeffy and a guy named Chris. Um, and they were kind of like the people who I would go to in case I had like problems, or I wanted to.
Is that Chris from season 11?
Chris Miller,
Yeah,
yeah,
season
uh,
11.
yeah, I like him personally as a person. He's a smart guy. He's really nice.
Hmm.
So so I go to them, and one of them was having trouble, like they didn't fully trust him, so I kind of did this like intervention thing where I like pulled them both into a room. I'm like, hey, I know y'all aren't having the best. I know y'all don't trust each other 100%, but if we can lock this down, I think we can all make it far, and we don't have to, you know when it gets to the end, like towards the finals, we can worry about that then. But let's lock it down right now, and just vote together, and have each other's backs, and when that time comes, we'll worry about it. Because I think a lot of people in the beginning kind of get sidetracked on what they're doing, and if you can just kind of lock that stuff down,
Hmm.
uh, and find a common goal, it can work out better for you and help you get farther. So right at the beginning, I find out that someone is throwing my name out in my alliance, and yeah, well, I'll get there. But um, so I I'm like, I kind of put it on like a post-it note, and I said, I'll worry about it later. Let's worry about it until I have to worry about it. So in my confessional, I say that this person is throwing my name out, who's supposed to be in my alliance, and then we swap, and this person is in my new tribe, along with Diane and Amy, who the Amy who is also in the Amazing Race right now.
Hmm.
So um, so it's me, Jarrett, and this other person, and then Diane and Amy, and and so we lose that first immunity challenge, or we end up having to go to tribal, and this person's like, hey, who do you want to vote for? And I kind of give them a name, because I don't really trust them, and then they end up going to Diane and Amy and saying, hey, this person's throwing your name out. So she threw me under the bus. And but what she hadn't realized is, right when we swapped, I went over to Amy and Diane. The first thing I did was I started trying to build a relationship with those girls. And I'm like, I don't want anything to do with Jarrett or this other person. So
Danielle.
sure, yeah, yeah. I was trying to keep it anonymous. I was like, and it's all in the games. Like anything that whatever happens inside the game, at least for me, only happens inside the game. Because yeah, I just I didn't want to say names, but so Danielle throws me under the bus, and I I already started building relationships with Diane and Amy. So when it comes time to vote, I'm super nervous because I'm having to go to both these people, and I don't have a vote because I gambled mine away. So for an advantage.
Did
So
you get the advantage?
no.
Oh,
So 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 I got two people from the opposite tribe who were mad at me because I was throwing one of their names out. I got two people who want to vote me out, and I'm like, my name, my writing, the writing's on the wall. I can, um, um, I got my hands buried in my face. Like I just can't. I want it to be over so I can just log off and be done with the game. And then the votes start coming up, and the first vote is for me, and I'm like, it's just gonna be a 4-0 vote because I don't get a vote anyways. And then Danielle's name comes up, and I'm like, and then Danielle gets voted out, and I'm, um, uh, and I want to believe that she got voted out because, at least for me, I don't think she made a strong enough case for herself at tribal, but I kind of also went off on her at tribal. I was kind of I want to say unprofessional, but Survivor isn't supposed to be professional. Uh, so um, so I so she gets voted out, and my I can feel my heart beating through my chest. Like I feel like it's gonna explode, and I don't know what happened. And I get the girls. I think they came to me and said something like she couldn't be trusted because she was flopping back and forth. And for me, I knew I didn't know at the time, but Diane and Amy had a ride or die thing going on. So like, even if we went back to tribal, right back, they were gonna vote together. So um, so I end up going back to camp, and I'm so thankful to be like still in the game. And Jarrett, I think he comes to me and asks if we can still work together, and I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm working with you.
Ugh.
I'm like, dude, you threw me under the bus, and now it's three. He's on the bottom of this tribe, and we end up going back to tribal. We lost again, so it's I would think it's a 3-1. But he was sending me these idol clues, and we were trying to work out this idol thing together, but I was trying to get the idol before him, so that way had I got the idol, I was going to play it at that next tribal regardless if I felt like I was safe or not, just so that way I could make it to the merge. And so we end up going back to tribal, and I'm like, dude, I felt like they ask Keanu and Holly, they're like, I felt like they asked, what's going on with you guys? Like, and I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm on the Jabini tribe from David versus Goliath. Like, I got Lirsa and Angelina and Natalie and Mike and Nick, and I feel like this sucks. Like, I don't want to be here. And so we get to voting, and so Jarrett pulls out his idol that he got right before I guess right before tribal or whatever, and I was at the same time trying to get the idol, but I couldn't figure out who it was because he didn't send me all the clues. So he pulls out the idol, and I'm like, again, the face, the hand in the face type thing, and everyone votes for me, and I vote for Jarrett, and he only negates one vote, but still, it's enough to send me home. They all voted for me, and I'm like, this, it wasn't long enough for me. I wish I could have gone farther, but I didn't play anybody else's game, and when I go to play an org, I don't really try and just play somebody else's game. I really have to play my own. Really, I think one of the things I've taken away from the orgs is, I guess, being able to play my own game and not follow the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
do you feel like that game you were more strategic?
I think,
or there was more room for you to do more plays since you didn't really know that many people. It was like a newer cast.
Yeah, for me it was a way new cast. Like I was able to maneuver the way I wanted to. If I didn't feel like something was going to work out, I was going to jump ship. And that's what I did when I found out that Danielle and Jarrett were on my tribe, along with Amy and Diane. I took the preemptive move, if I said that correctly, and I immediately went to the other girls, and I'm like, I want to work with y'all. There was no hesitation about it, because I knew that at some point Danielle was going to try and screw me over. So I think I did the right thing by jumping ship. And then, I met some really, really cool people in that season as well. I liked Holly. I like that Holly. She speaks her mind. She's loud. She's a fun person to listen to. Chris, Jeffy, they're all great people. And then after after I messaged Danielle and I'm like, hey, just to let you know everything that happened in the game. I hope it just stays in the game, because there was some harsh words exchanged, uh, and I'm like, I don't want this to go outside the game, because I think at that point I had already heard about like things that had happened in Corey's org, and you know, like how vicious games can get and kind of what things can lead to. So
Mhm.
I just wanted it to stay civil afterwards. Um,
And at the end of the day, it's just a game. It's for fun, and the goal is to win. But also, if you can get any friendships out of any game, then that's always a plus.
right. Um, I all my games, I've had a good time doing it, and really, I think that's all that should matter. Yes, the ultimate goal is winning, but you know, I think sometimes people take these games too seriously, and uh, I I take the game seriously, but when I get voted out, I know that I had a good time doing it. You have to kind of simmer and kind of be like, oh, why did I get voted out? But then you kind of like laugh at the situation. You're like, I had a good time.
Yeah.
Um. So, any more questions?
Yes. Do you plan to play more orgs? Whether not just Survivor, would you consider doing Big Brother, or are you
Yeah.
just gonna focus on Survivor right now?
No. Absolutely. Anything that comes my way that kind of fits what I'm into. Like, I saw an org for kind of like a Zelda
Hmm.
uh theme, like, and I'm like, I don't know Zelda. I wouldn't last too long in that. Like, you kind of have to pick and choose the orgs, and nothing really has uh came along quite yet.
Maybe they'll do a supernatural theme.
Oh, I would love that. Like, dude, I would like throw down on Supernatural or Lost or um any type of series. Like, um I'm a if they had TV trivia, I would so be down. Um, but I messaged Keanu a couple days ago, and I'm like, "Hey, Keanu, are you gonna do a season 3 soon?" I'm like, I'm just waiting for somebody to send me something cool, and then I'll apply. But I'm kind of we're in the middle of moving, so
Hmm.
like I don't know if it's like the best time. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
um, I mean, definitely still find time. It's just going to be a little harder at the moment. Um,
Yeah.
but I am always down to play Survivor, kind of do seasons, maybe try my hand at Big Brother. I've had a lot of fun doing it. I've met a lot of amazing people. Um, so um, so I'm always down to play again. I'm hoping to get an invite back at some point for another Corey's Org season of Survivor, not Amazing Race. I don't want it.
I
um,
mean, I had fun. To me, it was for
yeah,
me, it was like I played because I wanted to spend some time with Casey. He hasn't come back since season 9.
yeah,
Um, so for me, it was kind of like just spend some time with him and play this org. And it was like once a week, so that kind of worked out. And we actually had fun. We were laughing on the second leg when we had to call Corey, and
hmm
it was literally Corey, and I think he's like, I think it was like Tugwell Airlines. And I was like, "Can we get a ticket to Borneo?" And he just hangs up on me, and I'm just like, "What?" And I was like, he wasn't kidding. Like, there's no customer service, and I'm like, "What the?" And we just look at each other. We start laughing. And then we get it that it's Fiji, and then call him
Yeah,
again, and then like I think he's in another call, and then call him again. I'm like, can we get a ticket to Fiji? He's like, okay, you're the last team on the second plane,
that,
and he just hangs up.
that's so messed up. That's messed up that he just hangs up on you.
I mean, he said it. He's like, people are gonna hang up on you because it's
Yeah,
only one person, and he has to get through everybody. I just
right.
found it very. That was one of the funniest moments, and we were both laughing. So, I that's what I take away from that experience. It was very short lived. But I definitely had fun, and I'm sure you had fun. Playing with Matt as well.
Right.
Competing.
Well, like, um, I don't want to speak for Matt,
Hmm.
because I don't know. I don't know. Matt seemed, at least in my experience, and maybe he can, if you ever do an interview with him, he can
It'll be
at least.
6 hours or 7 hours.
Oh, make sure you have a day kind of blocked to where you can just speak to him. But when I played the Amazing Race with Matt, we both took it. I felt like we were kind of serious during it because um, um, it wasn't as fun as I thought it was gonna be, but like I still had a good time doing it. Like
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like all I wanted to make sure that like I didn't want to come in last,
Hmm.
um, but um, he, we we were both very focused, like very zoned in on what we were doing. So like although although it didn't seem like we were having fun, I'm pretty sure we both were. It's just like we were so super focused and like we were trying to find the mall and golly, where was it? And I'm like wherever that building was, the that big ass building. We were supposed to go to the mall, and I'm like, "Where's the freaking mall? We can't find the mall." And so we finally find the mall, and we have to go to the zoo next, and we're like, we can't find these fucking animals, and and we're at everybody got now people are just like they basically just give us the answer at the end. I'm like, oh, we're so screwed. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Because
like we're y'all
for
are the
for
last.
us,
Yeah.
what was that feeling when you knew that you were last and you got eliminated? Like, what did were you
I think
disappointed?
yeah, I was disappointed. Me and Matt kind of talked about it, and it is what it is. But I don't think the Amazing Race is really my thing. Like I said, I think I thrive on those games that you have to do the social interaction thing, and that I think that's where I'm strongest at because I need to play those games that build those social bonds because that's how I'm gonna get farther, not
Hmm.
by random trivia or 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 other things. It's really those social bonds, and I've had a great time playing these games, and I hope to play hundreds more in the future. And meet more people from the org. I have this kind of this cool fantasy if it could become like a reality that a bunch of us org players could get together in one state and have like a real mock season and
I think that would be great.
play for a
Even
prize.
even North Carolina, I feel like Corey has like I've seen like the backyard. It definitely I feel like it could be like at least like some 10 or 12 people. I think
Yeah,
it could be great. Speaking of North Carolina, you recently went down there or up there since you're in Texas.
yeah,
Um,
up and
and
over.
you met up yeah, you went to meet up with Matt. Talk to me how it was that the first person you ever met from the org?
Yeah,
From
so
these
it was so in person. It was it was like it was the first person that I'd met from the Oregon person, and I think um, for me personally, I don't need to constantly to be doing something to have a good time. Like I don't need to go to the club or like um, do all these like crazy things to to be entertained all the time. We we played on his PlayStation, grilled, kind of had Chinese food, and I was so thrilled. Like, it's like a kid in a candy store. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I, I, I find the best type of joy in the smallest things. So, like, um, you know, going to North Carolina, that's the farthest north I've ever been. So, before that, it had like the farthest north I had been is Arkansas, which is one state up and over to the right. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
farthest north I had ever been. Um, my first plane experience was going to North Carolina. Um, I had such a good time doing the smallest things and experiencing other people's cultures and learning about other people's lives and just kind of getting to know somebody and hanging with them. um, it was just um, I don't think I could have asked for anything better. I wanted to really uh, within the last couple of years I've really wanted to push my own boundaries of like because I've always been a kind of like a shut in who didn't get out much and never really took
Mm-hmm.
risks. So doing all these things, I've felt nothing but like this like high of just these like super experiences and and it's been wonderful. So so um so
And it's funny that like you like in season 8 you didn't win, um, but yet I feel like this is a prize, like that you get to like because of that experience you met so many people like Matt, and you get to now go and spend some time with him and meet other people
mhm,
from North Carolina and just like experience that. I feel like that's awesome.
mhm. Yeah, no, it was really fun. But you know uh I probably have to say this in advance, but as kind of like a joke, like I would think like Matt would be kind of like a consolation prize, but getting to meet Corey, like you meet Corey. No, just they were both really, really great. They were both really cool guys. Uh, um, and and
I
you know,
thought the biggest prize was meeting Spencer.
oh no, Spencer's an asshole, and I let Matt know Spencer is an asshole. Like I would be like, um, I'd be like asleep on their couch, and like Spencer came up
Spencer.
and bit me while I was asleep, and I'm like, oh, you fucking like I had to be respectful, but I'm like this fucking cat. Uh, it's like I hate cats so much. Like it's like no, I
Does
do like
does he have like 3 cats in his
yeah,
apartment?
he has like three cats, and like I love animals, but like cats are not nice. I have this big ass blue Lacey, which is I think they're the state dog of Texas, and he comes in and like lately past few nights he's been sleeping in my bed, and I just pat my bed and he comes up and he like snuggles right next to me, and I like fall asleep with this dog, and I'm like dogs are so much better. I was like, this is why I love dogs. Um, but Matt, I think Matt can defend himself if he wants about the cats versus dogs thing. Let him defend it or try and speak his mind about it. But um, getting to experience other people's cultures, like if I were to come to New York City, and experience how y'all live and y'all's way of thinking. Because um, I come from a very conservative um, uh, background,
Mhm.
and there are certain things that aren't really talked about, and in my experience, things that aren't um, that I was taught that are supposed to be wrong, and one of the reasons I did this is to the reason I started doing orgs is to get to experience other people's thinking and their way of thinking, and getting to experience um, other people's way of life, and through that time I've noticed that just because we're taught something as as children is not necessarily all how it's supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, and I was very lucky to and very grateful to experience the hospitality that Matt showed by allowing me to come to North Carolina, and um, uh, Corey as well, because we hung out for a good minute. That during that time, and they were nothing but excellent. They were very respectful, and I'd love to go again if they decide to have me. Just
Mhm.
I think it would be cool to go again, and not only just go, but have a bunch of people from the org come over and do a mock season. Uh,
I think that would be great.
I think that'd be really really cool. Um,
Yeah.
um, what else you got, Ed?
Well, I had some, I guess, like typical questions. Are you excited for season 41? What is the most, I guess, the biggest thing you're excited for with this new cast? Is there anything? Um, we know we have the 26 days theme, and right now they're like this is a monster, like the survivor monster, whatever. What do you think of the new era where the show is going potentially? And is there anything that you expect to see this season?
Um, so I don't really know what season 41 holds for us as viewers. I think they're really trying to keep it under like safeguard until that time comes out.
Hmm.
Uh, I was really really excited for it um, until I started seeing like the cast assessment like profiles. I'm not gonna um, we got done with season 39 Island of the Idols, and
Hmm.
everybody just thought that was like a giant drag because like we as viewers, when we watch the season, we watch the season to be entertained, and not bring any like the real world stuff that's going on right now. Like, and
Hmm.
as a viewer, you just kind of want to shut the TV off. um uh I don't know how you felt about season 39, if you liked it or not. Um, but I read one of the cast assessments, and I'm like, I just hope this isn't a repeat of season 39. Because you know, I was just I was not thrilled when I read their cast assessment. But as a viewer, then on the flip side, yes, I am very excited because um, it's been such a long time since we've had Survivor on, and I just want to kind of get back into it and kind of have all of us share our experiences and what we like and don't like about the season. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I'm ready. I'm I'm super ready.
Is
Um,
there go ahead.
oh no, no, no. I was just gonna ask you, are you ready? Uh,
I'm actually ready. I'm thinking of having or asking some of the people out there. I know who wants to do it, but like maybe a viewing party, everybody on Zoom, but we're just muted and we're just like watching the show, the first episode, and then watch it live. And I think that would be cool because like I would always watch it. I have a TV, but I
uh-huh.
don't watch TV. I only watch Survivor. That's the one time that I watch TV. Other
Right.
than that, I'm watching Netflix or videos on YouTube and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or I'm listening to music. I'm reading. I'm going to the movies, or going to museums or whatever. But I don't really watch TV except for Survivor. So I'm really excited. Like my sisters watch, but it's not the same thing to like be watching it and be like, oh my God, do you think that they're doing this or that? And I think that would be cool, especially with like knowing so many people right now that we've played from the orcs to actually have a community or a group of friends and actually watch it live and be like, know that they know what we're talking about. And they're not looking like, I don't know what you're really talking about. Can I just watch the episode? I
Yeah.
think that's very cool. It's going to be a great experience for sure.
Right.
um, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the game evolve. I feel like there's always room for it to evolve and different strategies. It does depend on the type of people that get casted because I feel like some players are. I feel like I've often get like love when I get surprised by certain type of players that you would think that they would play a certain way and then they're like very strategic and I'm like yes, that's awesome. So I mean that's what I'm looking forward to it and I mean so I love Survivor so
Mhm.
like any season I mean I am biased towards some seasons and some seasons are not as great because I'm just like but I mean, for the most part, I'll watch Survivor. Anytime it comes on
Mhm.
TV. So,
Uh,
actually, yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna just you were talking about casting and whatnot, and just to kind of like as a little fun tidbit or fact or whatever. I listened to Survivor NSFW with Johnny Fairplay and Matt Bischoff from Survivor Caramoan,
Hmm.
um, and they were talking about casting and if if I remember correctly, um, Johnny Fairplay had called up somebody from casting, and he's like, "What do you want to hear in our casting videos?" Because sometimes you always feel like it's a hit or miss, and they're like, I think Johnny Fairplay had said or heard from the casting one of the casting agents or casting directors. They're like, "What we want to hear is someone say." I want the $1 million. Like that's one thing that they want to hear is like, I want the $1 million. You have to say it, or else they'll like move on to the next video. So if you're ever doing a casting video, Ed, make sure to say, I want the $1 million, because you know it. Uh, I mean, going to Fiji or wherever they decide to put you would be cool, but you know, nothing beats $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, I have not sent the tape in yet. I feel like now I'm more confident to like probably send an audition tape.
Yeah.
Um, but first I need to learn how to swim because I don't know how to swim.
You
And
don't?
after that, no, I don't. So once I know how to swim, I'll send my tape because I don't want to be a liability on challenges.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, I think, I mean, why not? I feel like there was a time where I was like, and I said this on my interview when I did it with another friend of mine who interviewed me, and I said, one of the reasons why I was disencouraged to even apply and I thought I could never do it was because growing up I didn't really like I think a friend of mine was like, "Oh, well, it's only white people who are very athletic and, good looking on that show, like beach bots and stuff." And I was just like and recently I know there has been like people have spoken out about diversity and how they want
Mm-hmm.
to see more representation. And so when I saw people like Sari and people like Aubrey, they're like geeky and awkward, and I find myself like being like that type of person. where I'm
Right.
just like kind of awkward, but I like talking to people, but it's hard for me to like open up at first. Like I'm a very shy person, and it might not look at it like it at first, because I've played these orgs, but it kind of forces you to like drop that and be like, you have to be social. Survivor is a social game, and you have to make those relationships and get to know people. So I mean, I definitely agree with you that it has helped me come out of my shell. And I think one of the things that a friend of mine, my third org, well, I consider my second org because the first org I ever played, I got voted off first. And I came in second in that org, and she said she made the final three. And when you do the rite of passage, she's like, I hope that you're able to come out of your shell and really own up, that you are a great player and you thrive and actually, you know, try to play and not be scared.
Right.
And I took that and I ran with that on my next season, and that was my first org win. And I was just like, so from now on, whenever I play, I kind of try to be less scared to like make moves and more like try to show more of who I am and try to make those bonds and connect with people. Because if you can't do that, then no one's ever gonna be able to see the potential that you have as a player.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I love Survivor. I freaking have a buff collection. So I mean, I'm really happy that I've been able to like meet so many people like you and like with this org. So um, but enough about me. Back to you.
Okay.
Is there any player from past Survivor seasons that inspires you or you look up to? Growing up, like I want to play like this person, or when if I ever make it on the show, or just to meet them in real life and like got to like take a photo or talk to them.
Um. Well, I know they say to never meet your like heroes, or even if you just want to say like Survivor heroes, but Eric from Survivor Fans versus Favorites 1 and 2, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like he played such a great game. Like even with all the stuff, like him giving up his immunity necklace and him getting medically evacuated. Spoiler alert, by the way. Um, but um, he he seems very down to earth, fun, quirky, just all these kind of like things that um, I guess embody what the show should be, instead of just another pretty face to look at. Because you know, I think you just said that like um, instead of finding all these like you know um,
Models.
models and nice looking people, cast real people, and I think that's what they did with 41. But getting back to Eric, I just I felt like there was something about the type of person he is, and like I just if I could play a game like him, that's kind of who I would want to play like. But at the same time, I don't want to copy anybody else's game. I want to play my own game.
You're inspired
Right.
to do similarly or better, like based on
Right.
that person.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, other people who I thought like I loved David Wright's first season in Survivor Millennials versus Gen X.
Mhm.
Again, this very this very you know this person who was so comfortable in his shell, and um and then he started to break out of it and start playing his own game, and it kind of blossomed into this Goliath type person, and you would never look at David and think of him as like this Goliath player, but the way he played, it was very strong. Maybe not in the beginning, but towards the end, you really saw him as this like strong player.
I would
And
say that that's the essence of like what I look for. I guess you can say like a transition or like an evolution of day one versus day 39. Whether they
mhm,
didn't win or they didn't make it to the end or day 39, there's still some change or something or a reflection or growth that you go through. And I feel like that's the epitome of someone who started off as like being scared, anxious, or not sure, potentially first boot, and then to have him be voted out at final four because he's the biggest threat to win, because he's just played such an amazing game. He had the biggest story arc and winning immunities. To me, that was such an inspiration, and it's those type of players that I'm like, yeah, maybe I could do it. Maybe I
mhm,
could, like, if I end up on Survivor, or and not just me, anybody else. Like, it could inspire people to who are unsure or have anxiety or anything to just go for it. And like you said, like, you playing these orgs, it's changed you and it's helped you. So I mean, I think that's what I take from that show. I think it's a very positive message, and just to see his story, I think it was amazing.
not not only through this org have I realized that it's better to live your life. It's live your life outside your own comfort bubble, because at some point you need to. I think in everybody's life they need to li- really look at themselves, and if they're having the that trouble or that fear of really getting themselves out there. I had to ask myself the question at some point, like, do I really want to live my life? Yes, I'm protected and safe, and I feel so comfortable inside my own bubble, but um, or do I really want to take that chance and start living my life? Because you know I I'm so happy right here, but there's more. There's just more, and you know so I took that chance and started finding like-minded people who also like Survivor, and that led to this. And it was just a chain reaction, and I've been very um, grateful to be able to find this community. And we all come from different walks of life, and it's been a great experience. um,
um my next question is, what is the biggest misconception people have about you that you think, like, when meeting you or playing games with you?
um, I don't I don't know what people would I don't know what people really think about me until they actually tell me.
Mhm.
I haven't always been the best picking up on like people's cues and whatnot. Like
Mhm.
um, something that people don't um, some something a lot of people don't know about me is that I have a TBI, which stands for traumatic brain injury. So like, I don't I don't like to tell people that, because once you start telling people that, they start, at least I feel like they would start treating you like you have one. So
Mhm.
like, um, I'm not very good at picking up on people's um, what they think about me, and um, I had to work really really hard to kind of pick up on those cues myself. Like, are what do people think about me? Like, it's always a toss up for me. I don't know what people's misconceptions are, or what they think about me. Like, for example, what was your first thought about me, Ed? Because honestly, like, I have to.
for for me, I thought you were very, on season 8, the bit that I saw of you speaking, I thought you were very vocal, you weren't afraid to like speak what was on your mind. I think it was a tribal where they had to revote with Trenton when it became a tie, and then on season 9 for me, it was like I felt like you were very strategic, and that maybe you were trying to make sure that you get further, but I also saw you as kind of like maybe you weren't giving showing all your cards. You were keeping your cards close, but still trying to make those bonds or let them know that you were open working with them. And so to me, at that point, I kind of saw you as like I was scared of you in a way because I was just like, this guy's strategic. He's a threat to me, just like John. And I wanted to like I don't think I can trust him because he's that good, and he will. He's I to me it was like he's not going to be afraid to make those moves. But just like after that was over, and then like talking to you more on playing games with you and having more conversations, I've realized that you like you said you didn't have time to prove that. I think you'd really thrive on like having those talks with people, making those connections, and then for people to really seeing you for who you are and just like that you are a loyal person and a loyal player. So
Right. And something something that I've noticed about myself is like I have this problem of talking in circles, and like I'll start the conversation, and I'm pretty sure I've done it a million times during our interview, but I'll start the question, and then I'll go on this like um not nonsensical kind of like spiral, and in the question on something that completely doesn't matter. And like uh I, I think people, and it's kind of funny. Like I think it would be funny if like people were like, "Is this guy stupid?" But like, uh, no, that's not how it is. But like something that I've been trying to work about myself or work on myself. Like, um, I've um, if I could better uh speak for myself, especially when it comes time for like tribal and just about the game, like when you're having those personal conversations with people and talking strategy. uh I think that I could put keep myself in longer. It's just like the I've done it a few times. I did it a few times in season 8 with Corey, and I went off on this like weird kind of weird speech, and it didn't really make much sense. So and even now I think I just did it now, but whatever. uh,
it's okay.
um, but that's basically it. Uh, what else you got?
Well, I don't know. Do you have anything you want to say, reflect on? I guess we can reflect on your time on season 8 and season 9, since it's like the org that you've played the most with 2 seasons. Is
Hmm.
there anything away besides the friendships that you take overall growth or looking back, um, like from day one to like right now, having played more than Corey's org, you played another org besides that. What is it that you take away from that, or what's the feeling with, especially with COVID and this last year, just like the overall journey for you?
um, I think the overall journey is that I shouldn't be so hard on myself, and that I have it a lot better than other people, and you know everything that happens in my daily life all kind of ties together, and you know uh, everything that happens I just kind of beat myself up over. But I've learned especially with this this game and meeting people, to just take it a lot easier on myself, and just kind of let the small things just roll off my shoulders, because I mean, you can't really do much about the small things. um, I get a lot of crap for because it seems like I'm not taking things too seriously, but when you start taking things seriously, you don't really live for yourself and allow yourself to be happy. I know a lot of people who are just so stressed right now, and and one of the things that I've learned from this org is to don't sweat the small things, and just allow yourself to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really reflected, and I I'm so happy that I learned it here. I learned to let myself be happy here, and just meeting so many great people. It makes the experience that much better. Um, when I when I start to think about the happiest moments of my life, like meeting all the people and meeting all the people in this org, it's got to be one of the top, in those top 10, because um, you know you, there just isn't enough words to describe what it's like. Um, so I think reflecting and thinking about what this org has done for me is just amazing in a word.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, on that note, Jordan, I think you've had a great journey thus far. I'm excited to see the next chapter, what holds for you in these survivor orgs, and hopefully you come back soon for another Corey's arc where you can, try to like finish what you started and achieve so many great things. I think you're a great player, very strategic, and I think you definitely should come back if you can, or you get invited, or whatever, whether it's in bitter jury or you play another orc. I'm excited to see you play in the future. Thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your story, sharing your journey, and just talking about Survivor, which is like we all love Survivor, and what better to reflect on your journey and what you've been through this last year with the
thank you,
orc.
thank you
And
for having me, Ed.
no worries, yeah. And on that note, the live is spoken, and I will play this one. And I think you know this one. You should know this one because if you don't, uh, that's the one from Pearl Islands.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that it was going to be the one from Pearl Islands, but thank you for having me, Ed.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Well, that's all we have. We'll see you next time for another episode on The Life is Spoken. Thank you so much, Jordan, for being here.
Thank you, Ed.
Bye.
Bye.